Hi and welcome to The Winning Factor. I'm Alan Aitken, and on this show each week we take a look at some upcoming races in Hong Kong and try to isolate an angle to the race we might find useful for finding the winner. Well, Sunday at Sha Tin sees the running of the Group 2 Premier Bowl. Now this is a really key race every year, looking towards the Longines Hong Kong Sprint in December, so certainly worth a look. Just on that basis, and there'll be plenty of information around the Hong Kong Jockey Club website where you can get everything you need to look at that race. I'm going to take a look at a couple of the support races, however, and the first I'm looking at is race 2, where our winning factor is the map. A stock standard class 4 here, and a number of these met recently in the race won by Oscar Glory. He's here again, as is the runner-up that day, Kazi Farazi. 5th place Turquoise Alpha, and there are also arguments to be made for Lifeline Vision and Ode to Joy, who drops in class. But our main pointers here, I think, come from 2 races that occurred within half an hour of each other on October 1. The first of those, race 58. And here we're looking at Lifeline Vision. He's in grey with the red spots, gate 6. And the main thing to note here over the 1400 metres is a solid pace through the second section of the race as the leaders work out their order. But there is a generally decent speed throughout, so this is the kind of form that we can trust. Lifeline Vision gets a good ride from Derek Leung here, positioned midfield, follows the winner into the home straight and briefly looks a possibility, but not good enough. He works to the line in decent fashion, but really had his chance there. Now he moves up from 1400 metres to 1600 metres on Sunday, and he has some sort of claim on the race. But I think the main pointers for this came half an hour later in race 59. And this is over Sunday's course and distance, and we see Kazi Farazi in green colours, gate 3, Turquoise Alpha, gate 10 in turquoise colours, dropping back in the early stages, and Oscar Glory in red, white and blue, and he's the leader and our main focus. Now, you see on the heat map here, it's a walking speed early, but we see Angus Chung on the leader, picks up the tempo very sharply from the 800 metre turn. Now, his section from the 800 metres to the 400 metres was around 6 lengths faster than we might have expected. Now that drags out the sprints of those around him and puts the lead well beyond the possibilities of the horses back in the field. So a very good ride here, though Turquoise Alpha does close off well behind them. Now nothing sexy about that win, no fancy margins, and the result of the race was determined to a very large extent by the slow early pace. But I think it's worth remembering that that very fast section from the 800 to the 400 metres meant that those horses at the front end of the race were spending their petrol, including the winner, Oscar Glory. So there was some hidden merit to his win, even though it wasn't, as I say, a sexy margin at the finish. Now on Sunday, when we look at the map, he won't have the lead to himself this time, as Shanghai Dragon also likes to lead in his races, and he likes to go usually a pretty decent gallop. So we might not even see Oscar Glory in front this time, rather dropping in just behind Shanghai Dragon, and even Toy Coon out wide is a potential forward runner. The one who's a total query on the map is Ode to Glory. Now he could be a leader and a big chance in the race if he jumps cleanly, but that has been a real problem with him in recent starts. Nevertheless, I think the presence of another leader is not necessarily a bad thing for Oscar Glory. He won't get to walk them early last time, but he also won't have to spend his tickets so far from home as he did sprinting from the 800 metres there. We might see him with more energy to finish the race in the final 200 metres. And Kazi Farazi, not as well drawn this time, and Turquoise Alpha and Lifeline Express have to give a start to Oscar Glory again as well. So the tip in race 2, Oscar Glory. His winning factor, the map. No, he won't get to just crawl through the first half of the race this time, but I think he still gets a great run through the race, while a couple of his main dangers do have issues to deal with as far as the draw and the pace goes. The other race I want to take a look at on Sunday's card is race 6, where our winning factor is up in class. A decent enough Class 3 here over 1600 metres, and I'm sure there will be arguments made for Powerful Wings after a run of unlucky efforts. Tempest Express is back in form lately, Looking Cool has a chance, and David Hayes trained Wide Blue Yonder looks a chance down in the handicaps. And you could probably make a case for a couple of others as well, so quite an intriguing contest. Let's have a look at what some of the main players have been doing. This is race 44, and in pink and crimson colours. Gate 10 we see Powerful Wings, jumps away okay, but Sylvester de Souza steadies him back, and you see on the heat map this was probably a difficult race in which to ride, with the speed stopping and starting, and to be honest, it's the kind of race shape that doesn't really suit anyone, and certainly didn't suit Powerful Wings, who, as I said, got back in the field. Now, he has plenty of running in him as he turns for home, but then he has to wait for the eventual winner outside him in those white colours to get going before Powerful Wings can get clear, and then he finishes strongly over the final 150 metres. John Size trained Tempest Express, lost his way a little bit towards the end of last season, but he seems to have come back in much better form. And this is his most recent effort. This is race 64. He's in dark purple colours in gate 1. He settled 6th in the race, and as you see, the pace is genuine in the first half before the leaders steady around the circle. And I have to say, Tempest Express really gets a perfect trip here from Antoine Hamlin. Getting off the rail before straightening, he comes out to make a bid, but the winner is off and gone, and Tempest Express finishes an even sort of a third. And then we come to our class riser in the race, Wide Blue Yonder. This is race 80, and in orange colours from gate 8, Wide Blue Yonder is out quickly in a race where you see the first half was fairly sedate. He gets up outside the early leader, and we see the pace pick up from the 700 metres. Now, the leader here increases the speed from a fair way out, but then really kicks hard as they turn into the straight, getting away from Wide Blue Yonder and the eventual winner there in the green and red, Fireball. But both of them apply themselves well. They gather in the leader inside the last 75 metres, but with 15 pounds more in the saddle, Wide Blue Yonder finds Fireball just too strong. So a very brave second there from Wide Blue Yonder, and now he rises in grade. And I know there are plenty of punters who have a real problem with horses that rise in class without having won in the lower grade race. But the statistics don't put too much of a dampener on his prospects. If we look at the stats here for the last 5 years, yes, horses rising in class off a win have a much better record, but it's still a pretty good record when they haven't won and rise in class. And crucially for us as punters, look down the right hand side there, horses up in class without having won are still comfortably ahead of the market expectations. And dropping to a lightweight this time, I think Wide Blue Yonder is in good shape to adjust to what looks a tricky pace map. Now that is the trap to this race, the speed map, because there isn't an obvious leader. There are several who might have a look at the front, but the trap then is that if they all try to steal the initiative, we get a better tempo and a different race. And if none of them tries to steal the initiative, we get a stop-start tempo where everyone's looking at each other and traffic problems ensue. Wide Blue Yonder has shown enough tactical speed, I think, to be prominent going up to the 1600 metres here with the lightweight and capable of adjusting to whatever race shape turns out. So the tip in race 6, Wide Blue Yonder. His winning factor, up in class. I think that rise in class and the big weight drop that he gets makes him the ideal horse for this race that could be a little bit tricky and tactical, and he has the tools to be able to handle that. Well, that's it from the winning factor this week. Good luck on Sunday. We'll see you next time.